Star Trek Insurrection is a reunion movie film of the TV show Star Trek The Next Generation. Star Trek The Next Generation is the second series of the Star Trek universe because it started out in the 60s with the original Star Trek show with Captain Kirk, James Kirk. But then in the 1980s came another show, another series for the Next Generation, which takes place like 100 years or so after the first original Star Trek show and movies with Captain Kirk and Spock. And you may hear the wars, the battles, the debates between the first show and the second show. So what do you think? Which one is cooler, Kirk or Picard? Kirk is the first captain of the first show, and Picard is the captain of the second show. If you don't know what a captain is, you should go watch Pirates of the Caribbean. They have pirates, they have captains. Captain is the boss of the ship or the spaceship. He's like the father, not like Darth Vader, but cooler. Maybe not cooler, because Darth Vader is cooler, but they're like the father of the ship, of the spaceship, of the car, of the whatever they're commanding. They're the king. They're the father. They're the boss. They tell everybody what to do. And in this movie, and let me tell you all about this movie. This is a movie review, a film review on the movie Star Trek Insurrection, which is a reunion movie, but they're all reunion movies. Maybe it's not really a reunion movie. I just wanted to use that word because you get to see them again. The original cast from the Star Trek The Next Generation. They come back together, and at the beginning of the movie, they're like, oh my, oh wow, good to see you again. Oh yeah, it's good to see you too, kind of thing. They all come back, and they're together again doing a mission, or for some reason they're just together again, and the audience doesn't have to know. We don't have to know. We kind of know. We do want to know, but we don't totally have to know all the details. Like, for example, they see Wolf. Worf. Not Wolf. He looks like a wolf, but his name is Worf. W-O-R-F. Worf. Like going warp speed. Warp speed. If you are not a Star Trek fan, you should be one, instead of Star Wars fan. But you can be both. So that's another question. Do you have to be a Star Trek fan or a Star Wars fan? Which one is cooler? Can you only be one? Leave the comments below and tell me which one is cooler, Star Trek or Star Wars, or can you be both? Let me know. I want to know. But then again, I already know. I already know. You don't have to tell me. Don't tell me. Don't leave a comment. Reverse psychology. I don't care. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Star Wars is cooler. I like Star Wars more because they have lightsabers and they have the dark and the good side. But other than that, I really do like Star Trek, and I would love to have a future like that, because Star Wars is like a fantasy and less sci-fi than Star Trek. Star Wars is less sci-fi than Star Trek, and it's about the long ago history of Star Wars things, because it starts out, oh, a long time ago in a galaxy far away. But this review is not about Star Wars, it's about Star Trek Insurrection. So here is the movie review, and there are always spoilers. So here's the spoiler alerts. I only say this because I've seen other people say it, so I thought I'd try to be normal. But I don't think I could be totally normal, and I don't know if it's possible to be totally normal, especially when you talk about sci-fi and fantasy things like Star Trek and Star Wars, because those things are full of abnormalities. Abnormalities. How do you say that word? Things are not normal. There are things that are full, that is, these things are just full of abnormal things, things that you don't see every day, and that's what we are attracted to, right? Is that what you're attracted to? What do you like about Star Trek? What do you not like about Star Trek? What do you like about Star Wars? What do you not like about Star Wars? And what is cooler, Star Wars or Star Trek? Let me know, or I will set my gun to stun. I will set my gun to stun, my phaser's the gun to stun, and stun you up. Hasta la vista, baby, and kill you. Or just stun you. I don't want to kill you. I want to torture you. And I want to live forever. That's what the main nemesis people, which is the name of the next film of the Star Trek movie, is Star Trek Nemesis. The main nemesis people, they want to live longer because they're dying. The movie starts out with the Star Trek crew. They're together and they go to a planet just to look at it and to inspect it. That's typically what Star Trek people do. They explore strange new worlds and seek out new civilizations and to boldly go where no man has gone before. That's what the Star Trek people do. And that's what they've been doing for 100 years, even before the time of Captain Kirk and Spock. Because there's another show, another TV show that they started for a generation or so before the original Star Trek show. And they have that. And that was on TV in 2000, in the early 2000s. And it lasted a couple seasons. I like it, but they didn't stay on the air for a lot of seasons. But there's a story of before the original Star Trek of Captain James Kirk and Spock, and then there's the story of the next generation, and the next generation crew, they start making movies because that's what Hollywood does, and that's what people do to make money, but also to tell good stories. It's not just about ripping people off like the Battletoads ripped off the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's not about ripping off every day. There's more to life than just ripping things off and making money. Money is always involved, or money is involved a lot, but underneath the money is a good story. And I think that there's a good story in the Star Trek Insurrection movie. If you are a Star Trek fan, you should see it because it's a lot better than some of the original Star Trek movies that they made with the original cast of Captain Kirk and Spock. They make some movies and some of it's interesting, but some of the movies are not as exciting as the other ones. And they made the movies like in the 70s and 1980s. And then they came out with the second TV show, the Star Trek Next Generation, that I'm talking about right now. The Star Trek Insurrection movie is about that second TV show, the Star Trek Next Generation. And that crew is cooler. That TV show and those movies are cooler than Captain Kirk. I like Captain Kirk and Spock. They're nice and all, but I like the second one better. What do you like? Tell me in the comments below. Who is cooler? Which TV show is cooler? Which set of movies are cooler? The Kirk and Spock movies with the original cast of the original TV show? Dun, 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 dun. Oh no. How does the original song go? I forgot. Or is the second TV show cooler? Go with me. Vote for my favorite TV show. Or would you like to vote for Star Trek Voyager, which happens a little bit after Star Trek Next Generation? Kind of happens at the same time. And then there's also Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is the name of a space station that they have in space, where all these different spaceships come to meet and to refuel and to just take a break from traveling through space to do their missions. And they call it Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It's a space station, and a lot of people like that TV show, and I like it a little. I've seen a few episodes, but I would have to see more before telling you more about that. Because I'm only here to tell you about this movie, Star Trek Insurrection. You have the Star Trek crew. They're on a planet. The planet is great because the people can live for a really long time. Some of the people are 300 years old in the movie. Did I say spoiler alerts? If you haven't seen the movie, I will spoil the movie for you right now. The people are like 300 years old. And that's the thing, I'm here to spoil you with these spoiler alerts because the people are not spoiling because they're living for a long time, so they're not spoiling, they're unspoiling because they're on this planet unspoils them. That's a spoiler alert, an unspoiling alert. You live on the planet alert. You will not be spoiled. You will live longer because there's this radiation that keeps them alive somehow. The radiation like is on the planet or near the planet, and somehow there's a mix and you get exposed to the radiation thing and it keeps you alive. It's sci-fi, science fiction technology or phenomena. Kind of like, Spider-Man. Spider-Man gets bit by a spider and then he gets magical powers to shoot out spider web out of his hands. Well, I guess originally it was supposed to be out of his butt. But it's cooler just to have it coming out of your hands. So Spider-Man, he gets that. He gets almost like radiation poisoning, except I don't know if it's radiation, but it's something. And these people on the planet, they get some kind of radiation, and they get to live longer. So some of the people are like 300 years old, but then you have these aliens come in. They're the bad guys of the movie, Star Trek Insurrection, because they want to be insurrected. They want to be unspoiled and live longer. They come in and they're gonna try to take the people. Only 600 people on the planet. You have these 600 people exposed to radiation. They're gonna live longer, and some of them are like 300 years old. There's only 600 of them or so, and these bad guys from space come out of nowhere in the movie, and they're trying to pick them up and put them in a hologram. Hologram is like a fake universe. It's like a big box. It's like a big like a room, like a building, where you go inside of it, but then you look around and you think you see the real world because the computer, it's like you're in a video game, except you're not like, it's not the Matrix where they take you into the machine with your mind. They don't just suck out your mind like the Matrix or the Dollhouse. Dollhouse is a TV show, look it up, by Joss Whedon. Dollhouse, they take your mind and they make you into other people because they put other minds into you and make you do whatever you want. So you're like a doll, you're like a robot, you're like a slave. That's Dollhouse. I recommend you watching Dollhouse, but for now I recommend you watching Star Trek Insurrection because I want you to be insurrected, resurrected, revolutionized with these new thoughts and ideas that you've never ever seen before, or not. Whether you have or not, you should see it again, because I saw it again, and I never really watched it before until today. Today I turned on the TV, where I am in this house, in Saigon, Vietnam. Today, I turned it on, and I watched it from almost the beginning, where they were coming together. The crew was coming together for the Star Trek spaceship, Star Trek spaceship, Star Trek mission. They were coming together and Captain Kirk. No, not Captain Kirk. Captain Picard. Picard, he has his bald head. And people are always like, why do you have a bald head? It's the future. You should have some kind of hair gain, hair grow back something like the Cheetah Pets kind of thing, where you just water your hair and the hair comes back. Used to have something like that. And Picard, or actually the actor who plays Picard, says in the future they don't care. They don't care if there's bald people, and why does it matter? And I really like that stand. In the future, you may not care. What you need to care about in the future is not bald head, but the Prime Directive. You should care about the Prime Directive. In the Star Trek universe, people follow the Prime Directive, which is a set of rules that says when you're out in space, exploring different planets, and different civilizations and people, and different universes and galaxies, when you're out there exploring, here are the things you can and cannot do. Here are your rules. Your rules, your laws, your regulations. Basically, you're here to inspect, to observe, to learn new things from new civilizations and planets, but no, what do you call it? No hurting people. No leaving a trace. Don't leave a trace. In other words, don't let people know you're there. That is, if it's a primitive civilization, they cannot be interrupted, because if they see you flying to the spaceship, they'll go crazy with seeing the future kind of thing, and they'll worship you like, oh, I think you're a god because you're in a spaceship. But that can't be possible, because we don't know what that kind of technology is yet, because we're not there yet, because we're a primitive civilization. We're not ready to take in all this information. We're not ready to take in all of this information. It's too much. Our minds are gonna explode. It's just gonna pop out, just like the guy's mind exploded in the Indiana movies. Spoiler alert, at the end of the newest Indiana Jones movie, at the end of the newest Indiana Jones movie, the Crystal Skull, the guy is he's at this temple place with these skeletons all around him. The skeletons are like kings. They're like ancient rulers. They look dead because there's a skeleton, frozen crystal skeletons, and they're just sitting there on these thrones all around. But then they activate and they come back, so they're not really dead. They were sleeping, I guess. Maybe they were dead, maybe they're not. Were they dead? Were they not? Let me know what you think in the comments. But they come back nonetheless, whether they're dead or not. They come back and they shoot information into the one guy's head in Indiana Jones Crystal Skull. The secret of the, was it a secret or this, something like the secret of the Crystal Skull. They shoot, they fire information in his head. It was too much information. He explodes, and the whole place goes back to Neverland. Not really back to Neverland, but the place just what do you call it, goes down, and it's like as if it was never there. Never there. Leave no trace. And that's what those aliens were doing. The aliens in the Indiana Jones movie, the last one, they were leaving no trace, just like the Star Trek people should do, because the Star Trek people, they're humans, but when they go to the other planets, they are aliens, just like the aliens are aliens when they come to us in different movies like Indiana Jones. Which, by the way, people always say that, oh, they shouldn't have aliens in the Indiana Jones movie. They totally contaminated the films by adding this one. And some people say this last Indiana Jones is not really a part of the saga, the trilogy of the Indiana Jones movies. What do you think? I think it is. I think it's fine. I don't think that Steven Spielberg messed things up. I said before, Steven Spielberg, because he's made out of steel. Spielberg, but it's Spielberg, who also made E.T. in the 1980s. Spielberg made E.T. and Jaws. Jaws is scary. E.T. is cute. Aliens are more scarier than sharks. Jaws. Sharks have jaws. That's the name of the movie. Name of the movie, back in the 70s, it's about sharks. But the name of the movie is Jaws because the sharks have jaws, so the emphasis is on the part of the body that can eat you up. And the emphasis of this movie, this film, is Star Trek Insurrection because that was the focus of the aliens. But it turns out these aliens from from space, these aliens are actually related to those people on the planet. I was talking about the people on the planet, and some of them are 300 years old, and there's only like 600 of them. But then these aliens from outer space come, and these aliens are actually related to them. They're like brothers and sisters, or descendants, or just relatives, or brothers and sisters. But they're really old. Some of them are really old, just like the people on the planet are really old. But the people on the planet, they are exposed to the radiation, which keeps them younger. So they're like 300 years old or so, but they still look like they're 40 years old or 50 years old, or they're still young, 30 years old. Around that, they're not aging. They're staying young. They're like 300 years old, but they still look not a day over like 39 years old or something, because of the radiation of the planet around there, and that's good, and they can stay away from technology, because technology can destroy civilizations, and that's what some of the older 300-year-old people are saying on the planet. They're like, man, we just need to stay away from that crap, from that technological babble. We want to stay away from that stuff and live a peaceful life. But then the aliens come from outer space, and it turns out these aliens are related to them, and they have the same DNA, and they just want to, the aliens from space want to kill their own people, or put them in a little box into a holodeck, and have them live their lives there while they take over the planet, so that they can harvest and take advantage of the fountain of youth. That's basically what it is. It's like a fountain of youth, something that makes you live longer. And that's what the aliens were trying to do, but they were disregarding the people that were already there, and that was kind of bad. And the aliens from space, they were getting help from the Federation, the Star Trek Federation. When I talk about this different spaceship people, like Captain James Kirk and Spock, the original crew, they were a part of the Federation. And the new TV show, the Star Trek The Next Generation, they're part of the same Federation. If you're not a Star Trek person, you may be thinking, what's a Federation? What is the Star Trek Federation? It's basically the organization that is in charge of the different spaceships, the different Star Trek spaceships that go around having different missions to explore new worlds. It's like a team, it's like a federation. It's like, for example, the National Basketball Association. If you know anything about basketball, the NBA. The NBA is a basketball association, a basketball organization that organizes the different teams and the different schedules, and they say, okay, this team plays this team that night. The Portland Trailblazers playing the Los Angeles Lakers on this night, and then the same night, oh, we got the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Seattle Supersonics. What? The Supersonics aren't a team anymore? Oh, it's kind of sad. What's going on with that? Gary Payton, where are you? What? You're not playing anymore? What? They were moved to Oklahoma? What? Oh my goodness. There are organizations. If you know what organizations are, that's what a federation is. Federation is an organization that keeps track of all the different spaceships that come from, well, mostly Earth, but they team up with other alien races too. Like, I don't know who's on their team now. Is it maybe the Romulans and You got Spock and his race with. See, what is Spock again? What kind of alien is Spock? I can't remember. Tell me in the comments below, and like and subscribe, or else I will stab you with a phaser. In the movie, starts out nice. The Star Trek people, they go and they're on a planet, and also you see a little love interest between Riker and the girl, Deanna Troi, who is the counselor for the Star Trek The Next Generation spaceship. She's the counselor, so she deals with the mental and psychological, the emotional, the feelings of the people on the spaceship to make sure, if somebody's going crazy, go to her, see her, go see a counselor. She's the main counselor. There may be other counselors, but she's the main counselor, the number one counselor. You got her, and you will see her in the TV show. So if you don't know what I'm really talking about with this movie review on Star Trek Insurrection, go watch the TV show Star Trek The Next Generation. Start out with the first episode. Spoiler alert for the first episode is that the guy that you see, his name is Q. He's in the first episode, and I will tell you more about him in a TV review, but for now, I think you should see it if you have not seen Star Trek The Next Generation, because if you watch the show, that will tell you more about the movies that come after the TV show, and then you could better understand the characters in the movies, because the characters are more fleshed out and explained in the TV show Star Trek The Next Generation. The next generation. Not the first generation, but the next generation. First generation is with Captain Kirk and Spock. Live long and prosper. And get a haircut. Because I got a bald spot right here. It totally bothers me. But bad people bother me too. Whenever you see a bad person, it bothers me. Bad people like Dexter. No, Dexter is not a bad guy. Dexter is another TV show that you should see. And I'll try not to spoil anything about him. Besides that, he is a serial killer. You should know that. But he's also the good guy. Because he only kills bad people. But then you have these aliens in this movie, Star Trek Insurrection. And these aliens are trying to kill their own people, their own relatives, just so that they can live longer, because you see these aliens and their skin is like falling off their body, their faces, their skulls, and a little blood is coming out, and they have to do things to their faces. They have, technology, and it zaps their faces and trying to make it look better. And I've heard people make fun of my face before, because sometimes I have a beard and I look like a goat because I have a goatee or like something like that, and it's kind of like that, except it's worse. It's a lot worse, because they're aliens and they're older than me. A lot older. It's like whenever you see old people, the old people look really old and they look horrifying. And you're like, don't drive a car. Why are you allowed to drive? Why do you have a license? I don't want to be on the road with you when you're driving around. You can't even hear or see, and you're so short, you can't even touch the gas pedal because your legs are falling off. And you probably need stretchers and body enhancers that make your body parts grow longer, not just one specific part of the male anatomy, but also the other parts too to make it grow longer, because everything shivers up. Eventually, when you get older, things just start wrinkling, and that's what happened in the aliens. The aliens in the movie, they're just wrinkling up and they have technology, but they're happy to get to the Fountain of Youth. Not really a Fountain of Youth, but it's like a Fountain of Youth, just like the Fountain of Youth that is found in like the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean's movie. They go and they find the Fountain of Youth. And that's what you see at the end of the third movie. Spoiler alerts if you haven't seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I can't help myself, but you know that it was exciting if you've seen it, if you know what I'm talking about. I'm a big fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean because Jack Sparrow, he runs around drunk in a funny kind of happy kind of way. Because he runs around like, oh, oh, and he tries to, but the things that he says is very hilarious, because if it wasn't, it probably wouldn't work. That's what he says in like the third movie. And in the fourth movie, you see him running around and escaping death, and because, I think there's a death penalty for him. Of course, there's always a death penalty because those white people from America or Europe, they're always trying to get him. But he runs away and dances too fast to the beat and escapes. And he finds the Fountain of Youth because he cuts off the map, and he has the map, and he's going after it. And he runs into one of the girls played by Penelope Cruz. Penelope Cruz. Played by a girl. That's the name of the actress. Penelope Cruz. Something like that. You know it's something like that. Penelope Cruz. Can't even say it. But you know I want to say it. Because I want to get into her pants. No, I do not want. No, maybe I do, but it doesn't matter. Bottom line is that I'd rather get into the pants of the Fountain of Youth and live longer. If the Fountain of Youth had pants. But it probably doesn't. But Jack Sparrow, he's interested, really interested in the Fountain of Youth. But then his father comes around, and he says something like, oh, it's not about just living, Jackie. It's about surviving, or I don't know what he said. What did he say? Tell me. Tell me in the comments below. What did the father of Jack Sparrow say to Jack in the third or fourth movie? And will they make more movies? And what should the new movies be all about? Hey, I thought this movie review was just about Star Trek Insurrection. Hey, I can do what I want in my reviews. I like talking about everything. Like Alf. He's another alien. Who's really, really funny. But he likes to eat cats, so it's really sad because he's like a cannibal, and he wants to eat the pets of his family's, his earthly family's, household. And that's really sad. It's like, hey, if I invite you over to dinner, eat what's on your plate, but don't eat what's on the ground. If my cat is on the ground, don't eat my cat. That's like Superman in the Man of Steel coming back. He comes to Earth and he gets earthly planets. Not earthly planets, because there's only one planet for Earth, but an earthly parents. Starts with the same letter, parents and planets. He gets his parents, but he doesn't eat the cat. Alf wants to eat the cat, but Superman does not. So Superman's a good little boy, so Santa Claus comes over to his house. Santa Claus will give him something nice, but he would probably not give Alf something good. And Santa Claus would probably give something good for E.T. as well. Because E.T., he likes to hide in closets with stuffed animals. But he would not eat the stuffed animals. I've never seen E.T. try to do anything besides phone home and cure himself from the sickness. Just like the aliens in the Star Trek movie, they're trying to cure themselves of the sickness. They're under a sickness. But it's okay. I think it's okay. Because they're just trying to save the day, so why are they the bad guys? They're the bad guys because they're disregarding their own brothers and sisters who are already on the planet. You remember I said there's like 600 people, and some of them are like 300 years old, and they're already on the planet. Only 600 people, but how many people does it take to make it wrong to kill? If there's 600 people, is it okay to kill them? And if it is, what about 700 people? If there's 700 people, and they're in your way, and you want to live longer because you're old, do you kill these 600 or 700 people? Is that okay? Tell me in the comments below. Is it okay? And if you think it is okay, what about 800 people? Is that okay? Or what about 900 people? Where do you draw the line of what's okay and what's not okay? At what point do you cross the line as a roadrunner or coyote running and facing each other? At what point do you cross the line and fall to your death because you did something immoral? At what point did something come and become immoral? Come and become, At what point? Where do you draw the line? Who makes the rules on what is moral and what is immoral, as in not moral? who makes these rules? Who makes these regulations? Do you just follow the prime directive? If you're a science nerd, are you totally for the prime directive, or do you think that the prime directive should go away? Should there be something else that comes up in place of that? What could be better? In the movie, you see them, you see the Star Trek people. They're on the planet, and they're looking at the people, and it's nice. But then the other aliens come, and the other aliens are related to these people, and they're trying to make trouble in the neighborhood, just like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, making trouble in his neighborhood. He got in one little fight, and his mom got scared, and he said, "You move into your auntie, to your Bel-Air, your auntie and your aunt to Bel-Air, and your auntie and your uncle to Bel-Air." So I got into my cab, and I saw the license there, and I said, "Oh, smell you later." And I was finally home to my place in Bel-Air. That's what Will Smith says, I think. That's what he says in one of his, in his TV show, The Fresh Prince, because he's fresh like fish. He's a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he's fresh, and he's ready, and he's making trouble in his neighborhood, just like Rita Repulsa in this Power Rangers show. Rita is a witch. She's a scary little sorcerer in space. She's an alien as well, from another planet far away, and she's just, trying to make trouble in different neighborhoods, in different galaxies, and different planets, and that's what aliens do. A lot of aliens do, and not a lot of aliens are peaceful, I guess. Some are nice, some are not. And Rita Repulsa, she makes trouble in her neighborhood, just like Will Smith, except Will Smith was not really making trouble in his neighborhood. He's a good little black guy. And black people are not always bad, but some of them are. Some white people are too. That's what I'm trying to say. Trying to be neutral. I'm trying to be neutral, like the neutral zone. There's a neutral zone in Star Trek, but that's okay. You try to make trouble in your neighborhood, you will go behind bars. Unless you're eating a bar that can make you so strong that you can break the bars, then you can escape, and that would be good for you, but sometimes that doesn't always happen, so you have to realize the consequences to your actions could be dire, and to die for, like the Die Hard movies. You could die for it, to live long and prosper, to live long and die free to live another day, unless you're James Bond, and if you are James Bond, you can do what you want, because you have a license to kill. But as long as you kill only bad people, like Dexter only kills bad people, if you're James Bond, make sure you don't hurt people all the time. And if you hurt people, have a good reason to. And that's one of the things that different captains struggle with. Especially captains in the Star Trek universe in the future, which is like 500 years from now, is the Star Trek universe of what life might be like. That is, if we discover life on other planets, they come here, we go there, and we start having first contact. That's the name of another Star Trek movie. Star Trek First Contact. First contact, like the first time you talk to somebody, like the first time you meet somebody, like your first impressions with somebody. Except we're not talking about just your neighbor, like if you're a guy and you like the girl next door to you, and you get to have a date with her, and you have your first contact with her, your first date with her, and you fall in love with her, but then she doesn't like you, but then eventually maybe she does fall in love with you, or maybe she just falls in love with your cooking, or your money, or your good looks, or your contacts and networking skills with other people, because she wants to, get a better job, and she knows that you know somebody who can get her a better job. She doesn't really like you, but she pretends to like you because you are in the know, and you are in the know-how, and you know people that she likes, and she doesn't really like you, but then she pretends to like you because that's what she does, because she's a girl and she's out there. Or it could work the other way around, where the guy does the same thing to the girl. So I'm not trying to be this partial and stereotypical and biased towards just girls, not racist and sexist just against girls. I'm not a woman eater or a man eater. I'm just here to say, hey, sometimes life crumbles, and that's how the cookie crumbles, and Sometimes life is kind of cookie like that, cookie like that, crooky like that, bad like that, silly like that, bad like that. Big Bird would say something like that, like, man, life is hard. That's too bad when girls treat you like junk. And I got junk in my trunk, but not that bad. It's not really that bad. It's never really been that bad. I never really thought it'd be that bad. I'm just a big bird, and I must have grew too tall because, man, I didn't. My relatives are only like this big, and I'm like this big, and I'm bigger than a person. It's like, what kind of bird is that big? Not even ostriches are that big. How in the world could I ever be that big? Why would I want to be that big? I'm just a little bird who's supposed to tease little kids how to count and say their ABCs and how not to take drugs. But then again, we don't really talk about drugs that much in Sesame Street. How do we get to Sesame Street? I don't know. I've been taking too many drugs. I thought I was way over there, but I guess it's over there. But I guess it doesn't work that way because once you start taking drugs, then you start seeing things, and then you don't know where you are, and you forget who you are. So you better take a drink of water. You always have to have some water, and they should have more water in the Sesame Street movies because that will make them live longer. Just like the people in the Star Trek movie want to live longer. Everybody wants to live longer. The Pirates of the Caribbean people, they want to live longer. The people that live really, really long is Rita Repulsa in the Power Rangers. She's like, oh, after 10,000 years, I'm free. Time to conquer Earth. And why does she want to conquer Earth? She's never really been there before. I don't think she's ever been there before. But she wants to take over it. Just like the Borg want to take over Earth. Why? Why do people want to take over Earth? Because we're special and we're number one. Just like Riker is number one. He's the first commander. He's the first officer to the captain. Captain Picard. Jean-Luc Picard is the captain of this Star Trek crew. This Star Trek TV show and movies, Star Trek The Next Generation. The captain of that is Picard, and his number one is Riker. So if the captain is not around, the first officer is. The number one is around. He calls him number one. Picard, Captain Picard calls Riker his number one. Number one, take us out. Number one, do this. Number one, do that. Number one, you're in charge. You get to sit in the captain's chair and do whatever you want and tell everybody in the whole space of what to do because I'm not around, because I need to go on to a planet and, make sure people are gonna escape. Because that's what happens in the movie. The people, they have to run away. The people on the planet, the 600 people, and some of them are like 300 years old, they have to run away from the bad people who are related to them. They have to run away from them and run into these caves. And so Picard, Captain Picard, and a few of his trusted men, like Worf, who looks like a wolf, Worf and Deanna Troi, and Data, who is an android or robot. I am a robot. Except he doesn't talk like that because he's a little more sophisticated than that. He's a little cooler and better than that. A robot named Data, and he's with them too. And there's the other guy too, Jordy, from the Reading Rainbow series. You got him too. And they're all on the surface. They're all on the planet. They beam, or they actually go in a smaller spaceship out of the Enterprise. The Enterprise is the name of the spaceship that the crew lives in. The TV show and the movies, they all deal with the number one spaceship that they fly around in. And the name of that spaceship is the Enterprise. Not to be confused with the Millennium Falcon of Star Wars that Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Indiana Jones. His name is Han Solo, the character in Star Wars is Han Solo. You should know that by now, because everybody should know Star Wars, because it's more popular than Star Trek, unfortunately. But you have the name of the spaceship in Star Wars is called the Millennium Falcon, and you have another one called the Death Star that blows up planets until the main character, spoiler alerts, if you don't know, the main character is Luke Skywalker, who is, spoiler alert, related to Darth Vader. Luke Skywalker flies his little TIE fighter, I think it's a TIE fighter, which is a spaceship, smaller spaceship. He flies his TIE fighter and shoots some photons or some laser beams into a little hole, and it reacts like a chain reaction. It just somehow goes into the center of the Death Star spaceship and blows it up. And that's too bad. And that happens in a lot of movies. You have bad people, and the bad people are in spaceships. In some of these movies, you have spaceships, and you have to blow up the spaceship. If you blow up the spaceship, you rule the day. You save the day. And that is good if you're the good people. If you're totally good and the movie is black and white, where the good people are against the bad people, and the good people win and the bad people lose, then the good people win and they save the day. And at the end of the movie, there's credits and some good music, and people are happy. And a lot of movies are like that typically. But do you like movies like that, or do you rather have a movie that is different, where there's a lot of gray and you don't know who's good and who's bad? What is better? I do like mysteries, and I do like it when I don't know who's good or bad, but I also like it when it's the traditional kind of movie with the good people against the bad people. But what do you think? What is cooler? Bad people against good people? Or would you rather see a movie where it's like bad people against bad people, or good people against good people, or some kind of mix of where you don't know who's who? What would you rather be? What would you rather be? What would you rather see? What kind of movie would you rather see? What would you rather watch? Let me know in the comments below. Please, let me know. If you don't let me know, I'll never know, and I'll never know, and that'd be really sad if I never know, because I don't really want to know. If you don't know, then you can't tell me. So you should know. Then as soon as you find out, then you can tell me, and then I can know, and then I'll be happy that I know, and then I won't have to wonder anymore. In the movie Star Trek Insurrection, starts out nice because the people, the crew of the Enterprise, they're back together and they're talking to each other like, "Oh man, I have not seen you in years. How have you been? Oh yeah, you've been on the Deep Space Nine space station. Oh yeah, Worf. Oh yeah, you like it there? Oh, it's pretty cool. Oh yeah. Hey, and you got Ricard the retard. No, Ricard. Commander Picard. No, Picard. What? Riker. His name's Riker. Why did I say Ricard? You got the number one. The second in command from Captain Picard is Riker. And Riker is in love, or was in love, or is back in love with the counselor, Deanna Troi. And you see a little love interest in that. And he shaves his beard in the movie too, and then he's back to how he looked in the first couple seasons of the Star Trek Next Generation TV show. He had no beard. Riker had no beard in the first couple seasons of the TV show. And so you get to see that in this movie, and that was kind of nice to see. As a fan, I really like to see that. Did you like to see that? What did you think? Is Picard better? No, Picard. Did I say Picard? No, Riker. I'm talking about Riker. His number one. Picard's number one is Riker. He's the first commander. He's the one that gets to do whatever he wants. He gets to be the captain when the captain's not around. That's why he's the number one. Whereas I would call him number two, because Picard would be number one. But never mind that. He is the number one because that's what he's called. For some reason. And I really like him. But what do you like? Do you like Riker more than Picard? Who should be in the seat, the captain's seat? Who should be there? Picard or Riker? At first, in the beginning of the TV show, obviously Picard has more experience, but over the 7 seasons of the TV show of the Next Generation, Riker gets a lot of experience and he becomes better. And then later, like in the books, and then you might see this in some of the episodes or in movies where they kind of talk about how Riker goes on to have his own spaceship because he has the experience and the know-how, and he's that kind of person to be his own captain of another spaceship because he's Riker and he's almost as cool as Picard, but just a little younger, a little less experienced, and a little less of a bald head. As in, he doesn't actually have a bald head at all. That's okay. In the movie, starts out nice, like I said before, and they're on a planet. They're hanging out with these people who can live like 300 years old or forever because of the radiation on the planet. And there's only 600 of them. But then these other aliens come who are related to them. It turns out that they are related to them. And they come and they start making trouble in the neighborhood and start shooting and trying to get them to go into a little box to live a fantasy there so that they can come and inhabit the planet and take advantage of the radiation so that they can live longer. But then that's kind of sad, and these people don't want to go, and so that is sad. And then there's like a little war, and then they're running away from the bad people in space, and they're running into the caves, and then eventually like the Captain Picard and his crew, they're trying to figure out how to save the day, and they actually zap the aliens in spaceship, in space. They're in space, but then like they're moving around, and then they get zapped into a holodeck in space, in another spaceship, and then they think they're actually still on their regular spaceship. Somehow, I don't know how that happened exactly. I must have blinked my eyes, but they were all of a sudden on a holodeck. But then they find out they're on a holodeck, and then the bad guys, they're really old, and their skin is falling off, and they're like, oh my goodness, we're not in the real world. We're in like a computer program. We're like in a matrix. We're in the holodeck. And then the one guy, he's like the captain. He's the bad captain, and he picks up his gun and he starts shooting at the wall, and then whoosh, it exposes the machine that turns things into other things to make it look like you're in one place, but you're really just in a room. You're in the holodeck where you think you're like say you're in Disneyland, and you're like in another country, you're like on a mountain, but really you're just in a room. You're not really on a mountain. You're not in a jungle. You're just in a room, and so you shoot at the wall, which you can't really see it because the wall is pretending to be something else because it's just showing you like it's like a projector of whatever that they program it to make it look like, and then you find out you're not really there. You're not really there. You're in the Matrix. You're in a holodeck, and they get upset, but then they find a way out, and then but it's too late, and their spaceship is about to blow up because somehow. The Star Trek people, they must have did something to break their spaceship, and a key part of the spaceship, like the reactor or something, the engine part that makes the whole spaceship go boom, 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 makes it go places kind of thing. And then at the end, it's like their spaceship is about to self-destruct, and so the bad captain is gonna go into the engine room of their spaceship and try to stop it, try to save his life and the life of his, the people of his people, and but then Captain Picard, he comes in and he's gonna stop it, and there's fighting at the end, and then Picard goes and he like presses a button or he shoots at something in the engine room of the spaceship, and then you have the Enterprise outside and they're shooting too, and that was pretty much the end of it, and the bad people's spaceship starts to blow up, and the bad captain, and he's there and he's like, no, make this stop, this is so sad, and Picard is like, I'm sorry, but you're bad, you have to die, and then he beams away right before the spaceship blows up, and the bad captain guy, he's really old, like 300 years old, just like his relatives on the planet that are just as old, but they don't look old because of the radiation. He didn't have the radiation because he was side of the planet for so many years, and he's bad and stuff, and he wanted to take advantage of it. And now to the end of the movie, his spaceship is blowing up, and Picard was on it, and but Picard beams away. Picard goes back, just zaps back to his spaceship, the Enterprise, but he is left on his puny little spaceship, and the spaceship blows up, and he dies with it, I guess. But they don't really show it, but it's implied that he dies, and he's gone, and that's what happens at the end of a lot of movies. The bad people die. What do you think about his death? Was his death good or bad? And I think it's fine. I remember seeing it. I think I actually saw it originally in the cinema. Went there back when it was originally on the air. I don't know when it originally came out, with maybe 98 or maybe 2002. They made one more movie, one more film with that crew, the Star Trek Next Generation, and like after that, one more movie, like a couple years later, like 2004 or so, and that last movie is the Star Trek Nemesis, which I could tell you about in another movie review. But for now, what do you think about this movie review? You will say, hey, it's too long. I know it's too long. Who would spend an hour watching a review? I don't know, but I thought it was a good idea to talk about an insurrection, because I want to insurrect in my own videos and my own ideas and my own universe. That's kind of why I'm here, to insurrect my face. So maybe I need to go get a haircut and to try to take care of myself. Maybe I should do these reviews with ties and suits to make myself look a little better. Maybe I should rap and have a guitar, and you guys should have other people in the background and have a little videos that pops up on the side. Like, oh, a little video here, where my finger is right here. Like, have a video here, and maybe have a video on the other side of the screen too. How do I do that? Right here, and just pop out and have little words at the bottom of the screen. At the bottom of the screen, little words to pop up, and just say little things, and just edit my videos where it's not so long, where it's like I say, oh, no, and then you go, and then I'm right here, I'm like, and I pop it over here, and it's, hey, what's up? And it's like, oh, my cat, and maybe I should be like Ray William Johnson and review other people. What do you think I should read? You think I should review, just find videos on the internet and talk about them, and then make little jokes about them, and throw little babies to the wall and have little comic things in the back, and or maybe I should review history like the crash course people should do, or maybe I should just review different things like I Just Sing. You think I should do that? Maybe that would be kind of cool, but maybe that wouldn't work because everybody's different. Maybe I have to talk a little slower, because when you talk slower, then people can understand you. But if you talk a little slower, then people can lose interest in what you're saying. But then again, if you make a video for that's like the whole entire hour, then people will definitely lose interest, right? It's an interesting title to call it Insurrection. I like to insurrect myself, and the Star Trek people, they're trying to insurrect themselves, and they wanted to make more money, and that's what Hollywood wants to do. But they also want to tell good stories and live a little longer, prosper like Spock. And that's kind of what the new Star Trek reboot is doing too, kind of thing, except they're kind of modernizing things and making it a little more different, a little more cooler for the new generation that has not really seen some of these new, old movies of the Star Trek people, and they're new to it, and so they kind of have to see it for the first time in a new, different way. And so what do you think about reboots? Are reboots good? Do you like it when Spider-Man and Batman and Superman, they all come and they reboot? Is it good? Is it bad? What is your favorite reboots, and what are your not favorite reboots? Do you like boots? Do you like going outside and having boots on your body when there's snow? Do you think it's a waste of time? I think boots are kind of heavy. They kind of go on your body, and they're just kind of heavy, and they just like, you don't really know if they work or not, because there's like boots on your body. Is it gonna work? Is it not gonna work? It's boots on my body. I can't believe I'm not a boot. Can't believe I'm on a boat. I'm talking like a Canadian person, like Captain James Kirk. No, he's not Canadian, but oh, who's the other guy that was? Oh, Michael J. Fox. Yeah, he was definitely Canadian. Just like other famous actors. I mean, they're all Canadians. They try to take over the world, and they win Canadian Actor Guild Awards and all these other things. And oh, and might say, oh, why did I say the word guild? That's kind of like a TV show that I need to go watch again. But until I do, I won't. This video is officially 1 hour long. I have been talking about an Insurrection movie for an hour long, because those people are so old on the planet, and I recommend this movie, and the movie gets an awesome tackler review, and oh man, it does, but should it? It kind of does, just because I'm just a big Star Trek fan, so I'm being a little too biased about this, because, you know, I'm a Star Trek fan, and I'm gonna like things like that, because I'm into Futurama, into futuristic things that come up and zap you, you know, like in the Back to the Future, where, you know, that's kind of what the Back to the Future people say. They say, you know, they kind of have the prime directive. I mean, this the Doc. The Doc who invented the car that travels through time, the DeLorean. That's the car. The name of the car is the DeLorean, and he invents it. And the Doc says to Marty McFly, don't touch anything, don't look at anything, don't touch anybody, you know, don't try to pick up any magazines to try to win some, you know, sport events to make a lot of money in the future by going back in time with the you know, the almanac that tells about who wins what, and then you can predict who's gonna win. And don't do it, because you're gonna make a time paradox thing that's gonna blow up the universe and all matter out there. Don't do it. And that's what the Star Trek people say. And the prime directive of the Star Trek universe says that if you interfere with primitive life storms? No, primitive civilizations. You interfere with them. You know what's gonna happen? I don't know what's gonna happen. The horrible things are gonna happen. It's gonna blow things up. Just like making a time paradox in the Back to the Future films. That's what the Doc thinks, and that's what the Prime Directive people think. So it's like in the future of the Star Trek universe, a bunch of little baby Docs grow up. There may be only one Doc around now that was born like 1955, or actually not 1955. He was alive back then too, when Marty went back in time to 1955 to see his parents and mess things up with some parents, ended up fix things up with his parents in the first film. He goes back there, so obviously he was born like 1920. So the Doc was born in 1920, so he's only one around for this century. But then, you know, in the next couple of centuries, maybe a bunch of more Docs grow up, and they become the fathers and the forefathers and the grandfathers. And the grandfathers? No, the Godfathers. Yeah, they become like the Godfathers and the forefathers and the founding fathers of the prime directives of the Star Trek people. Because it's like, that's the next thing to do, because that's basically what, spoiler alert, the Doc says in the third Back to the Future movie. He says, man, I've already went back to the future and forwards in the future and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go somewhere else. And he zaps away with his family, his new family that he made from the 1800s, because they go back to the 1800s. Spoiler alert, they go back in the 1800s to do something, save the family, the ancestors of the Marty McFly line. And the Doc went back there too, but he falls in love with a girl. I think it's a girl that was supposed to die, but she doesn't. So he kind of messes up with the prime directive. He kind of messes up with history, but it doesn't create a paradox. Things don't blow up. Instead, what blows up is him and her together and having babies. You know what I mean? They're making babies that kind of way. And that's what happens. He goes off into, I don't know where they go, into space or something. At the end of the third Back to the Future film, they go somewhere. I don't know where they go. The Doc, his wife, and 2 sons, they go off. Maybe they go into the future. Maybe he goes and starts talking to people about how to make spaceships. Because if you know how to make a time machine, I think you know how to make spaceships, right? Make how, you know, warp cores to go, the speed of light, and to go faster than the speed of light, to go warp 1, warp 2, all the way up to warp 9, and don't even dare to go warp 10, because they did that in some of the movies, like the Captain Kirk and Spock movies, I think. They start going really fast, and they're like, oh man, we can't go any faster. Man, we're gonna blow up, kind of thing. And oh no, we need to go back to Earth to save a whale. And that's what Scotty says. Oh, yeah, we need to go save a whale. No, yeah, I am Scottish. Yes, we need to go save. There's no more waves. Whales. Whales of the tail. The Moby Dick. We need to go back in the 1900s. Because there's no whales in the 21st or 24th century. Oh man, life is tough, right? And that's what people do. They always have to go back and make trouble in their neighborhood. And it's not always trouble, because if you ask them, are you making trouble in your neighborhood? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he's like, no, I wasn't making trouble in my neighborhood. I was just playing basketball, man. And then these thugs, they're like, there was their radios, and they're like, oh man. And Rita Repulsa, the Power Rangers, she'd probably be like, oh man, I'm just trying to, I just want to dominate, because when I was little, my parents abused me, so I want to feel a little bit of power underneath my chin and underneath my just a portionate beard. Except Rita doesn't have a beard, but she's probably angry like that. Just wanting to have something that's not hers, but she thinks she has the entitlement to have it. She wants it. Will Smith wants it, and the bad people in the Star Trek Insurrection, they want it. They want some insurrection. Which is another word for love. We all want love. You want love? What kind of love do you want? What is real love? What is not real love? Let me know. But you know that we all want love. We all want love. And if you don't get any love, you're going to go and you're going to do things that you're going to regret later. If you don't get love. So you better go get love. From... Who can you get love from? You can only get love from Jesus. Jesus Christ. But if you don't get love from him, then you're going to rob a bank. If you're going to rob a bank, let me know what kind of bank you would like to rob. What kind of bank is worth robbing? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you. Good night.